Russian President Vladimir Putin said on Wednesday that his troops were routing Ukrainian forces in the Kursk region. According to Associated Press, Ukraine's army stunned Russia in August last year by attacking across the border and taking control of an estimated 1,300 square kilometers of land. But Ukraine's forces are now in retreat, and it has all but lost a valuable bargaining chip, as momentum builds for a ceasefire with Russia. We all know very well that our troops have recently carried out a series of rapid, rather daring and effective operations and are completing the rout of the enemy group of troops in the Kursk region, Putin told a board meeting of the Russian Prosecutor General's office. He added that all Ukrainian servicemen and foreign mercenaries who had operated in Kursk were considered terrorists under Russian law. U.S. President Donald Trump earlier repeated that Russian forces had surrounded Ukrainian troops in the region, amplifying an assertion that's been disputed by Ukrainian leader Volodymyr Zelensky.
Спасибо большое. Добрый день. Пожалуйста. Пожалуйста. Уважаемый Игорь Викторович, уважаемые товарищи, вы знаете, мы все хорошо знаем, что наши войска недавно провели ряд стремительных, достаточно дерзких, эффективных операций и завершают разгром группировки войск противника в Курской области. Повторю в этой связи, согласно законам Российской Федерации, все военнослужащие украинской армии, а тем более иностранные наемники, которые находились на нашей территории и совершили целый ряд преступлений против гражданского населения, должны квалифицироваться и квалифицируются нашим законом как террористы. Проблемные направления, на которых следует сосредоточиться, обратить на них особое внимание. Отмечу, что прошу органы прокуратуры, в том числе военных прокуроров, такую работу совместно с другими службами в полном объеме развернуть на освобожденных территориях. И в Судже, и в других населенных пунктах. Все эти преступники, каратели, те, кто отдавал приказы преступные, издевались над мирными гражданами, должны быть установлены и в дальнейшем должны получить справедливое наказание.
The founder of the Close the Sky of Ukraine charity fund, General Ihor Romanenko, who served as deputy chief of the General Staff of the Armed Forces of Ukraine, stated that intense battles are ongoing in the Kursk region. Over the past 2 weeks, the enemy has formed units, including a reconnaissance battalion, that crossed the border and seized 3 key settlements. Ukrainian defense forces regained control of one of them, but the enemy still holds 2 settlements in the Sumy region and is attempting to establish a buffer zone. From a military-political perspective, Russia's goal is to push our forces out of the Kursk region and create a buffer zone in Sumy. Additionally, Putin may use these actions to showcase successes in his so-called special military operation to the Russian public, particularly by advancing into a new region, Sumy, Romanenko stated on Espresso. According to him, assets still under Ukrainian control in the Kursk region, despite their significant reduction, could be leveraged in negotiations. For example, this applies to potential exchanges involving a nuclear power plant, which is strategically important for the US and Europe due to nuclear threats. Negotiations have already taken place on this matter, with pressure applied on Russia. While Trump may not show active interest, this issue will remain relevant, he added. In the Kursk region, Ukrainian troops are retreating from previously held positions. As a result, the current objective of Ukraine's armed forces is to strike enemy equipment and personnel, Romanenko said. This is a complex form of combat, leading to a nearly 10-fold reduction in territory under Ukrainian control. According to various estimates, approximately 100 square kilometers remain under Ukrainian control. Recent reports indicate that Russian troops, along with North Korean forces, launched offensive operations from multiple directions, including an advance from the east to the southwest through the Sudza area. They have managed to create a divided grouping of Ukrainian forces in the northern and western directions near the Sumy border. This situation presents new challenges for our forces, particularly in holding these territories where possible, the general concluded. On March 15, President of Ukraine Volodymyr Zelensky said that the Russian army was preparing to invade Sumy region. The day before, the evacuation of local residents was announced in a number of border settlements. In this regard, a wave of conspiracy theories arose that after the failure of the Kursk operation, Ukraine allegedly provoked Russian troops, and that is why they decided to take over Sumy region.
Ukrainian military observer and journalist Vasyl Pekhnyo said that Ukrainians should not rush to overly positive conclusions regarding the situation in Toretsk, as this would be wrong. Some Telegram channels are reporting that enemy troops in this city are on the verge of encirclement, but it is too early to talk about such a development of events, the analyst emphasized. In Toretsk, by and large, there is no clear line of combat. Recently, the occupiers completely destroyed the Toretsk mine, preventing our troops from continuing to consolidate their positions in this stronghold. In fact, there are constant battles in Toretsk, but even this is a success for us, because a month ago, Toretsk was 85% occupied by the Russians. Ukrainian units were able to return it to a solid grey zone and are now demonstrating positive dynamics. Russian forces are currently attempting to increase pressure on the Toretsk front. Viktor Trehubov, spokesperson for the Khortytsia Operational and Strategic Group of Forces, said this on Ukrainian television, commenting on data from the Deep State Analytical Project. Russians are trying to intensify pressure on the Toretsk front. It's obvious that if they face difficulties in one area, they shift their efforts elsewhere. This is, logically speaking, a standard method of warfare, Trehubov said. Trehubov recalled that according to Russia's Ministry of Defense, Russian forces had officially taken Toretsk in early February. In reality, however, fighting in the area continues to this day and has been ongoing for a year now. The situation remains tough because this is urban combat where the front line shifts constantly. A single street can change hands multiple times in a week, and this can go on for months. Nevertheless, Russian forces have still been unable to establish full control over the city, he said. Trehubov noted that the situation in Chasiv Yar is similar to Toretsk, but with some differences. It's a smaller town, and the Russians are trying to maneuver around it, including from the north, using armored vehicles. However, these vehicles are being effectively targeted, he said. When asked about the situation on the Pokrovsk front and the extent of Russian troop activity, Trehubov said that after a sharp decline in attacks in early September, Russian forces have now resumed their offensive. However, this renewed push has not yielded any significant success. After suffering heavy losses in previous assaults, they have been unable to effectively restore their offensive pressure. This isn't just an assessment, it's what I hear directly from my friends on the ground in Pokrovsk and Mirnorad. They say there are simply far fewer Russian troops in the area now, because a significant number of them have been eliminated in these failed assaults. Trehubov concluded,